Hey guys, I'm here ice fishing. I ran out of worms though. I have to improvise. Got one. This only hurts the first few times, boys. Try it sometime. Hey guys.
Well, I caught one. I don't think it's legal to keep, though. I'm going to have to throw them back.
Two deer walk out of a gay bar. One says to the other, "I can't believe I blew $50 in there." What's the difference between Batman and a black man? Batman can go out at nighttime without robbing. What's the difference between...
Funny. That was some good stuff there, huh? Well. How's everybody doing tonight? Yep, we're going to bring that down. We're going to go like this. It's a Friday night. Not sure if anyone's going to join me tonight. I sent the link out a little late. I was busy doing some stuff. I had some people come. What's with my camera? What the hell is going on here? Hold on. What is with my camera? That's better. I don't know what the hell happened there. Some weird stuff going on. Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot to. Oh, well, that stinks. I forgot to set up a recording ahead of time. So, well, I should. How is this possible? It's telling me I'm getting warnings that my connection is bad, and I have just installed fiber optic connection, which has supposed to be fantastic, but it's telling me I'm getting a warning here. This just can't be right. This just can't be right. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Can't be right. Sorry. Anyway, we got some news stories to talk about this evening. Yes. Okay. What's happening? I'm having problems here. Okay. Almost here. All right. Oh, come on. Keep losing the tabs. I feel like a dummy. right, so move that one. Yes, this. All right. Okay, everyone's here. So I didn't do any goal for this evening because last night we did get the goal, but I went like 4 hours, a little over 4 hours. But I'm probably only going to go about 2 hours tonight. I don't know. I mean, unless people start donating a bunch of money and ask me to stay longer, but I've got like 13 topics only lined up. I do have some more in the back if I had to get them, but I just was planning on a nice lazy show today. So. Oh, the books. I got a few books back there. Oh, those are mostly actually Death Angel Shadows. Those are mostly mostly CDs and high ultra high definition CDs. The whatever it's. I can't remember what they're called. They're like the green colored CDs. They're supposed to be the best audio. Then a bunch of vinyl albums, and then over there is Blu-rays, DVD, Blu-rays, and over here is 4K UHDs. That's it. I do have some books, mostly not nothing anyone would be really interested in. So, anyway, so we're going to get to the first story of the evening. And if you're new here, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Participate in the chat. Leave a comment on the video. It always helps with the algorithm. And let's get going here. First story of the evening is going to be about our illustrious Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And here we go. So Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson just wrote a Sesame Street dissent. Her dissent was like something you would expect to hear from Grover, or maybe I don't know, maybe Oscar the Grouch. I'm not really sure. Or maybe Big Bird even with her bird brain. So, not a legal opinion, not a serious argument. 14-page activist screed, so off base, even Sotomayor and Kagan wouldn't join her. No, I'm just happy to see you, J.H. Schwalbach. A thread on the left's new RGB cosplay. Okay. She does kind of trying to look like RGB there, right? So the case was simple. Trump issued an executive order to streamline federal bureaucracy via attrition. A union sued. The Ninth Circuit sided with this union. The Supreme Court reversed that 8-1. I have the Bongino story unhyphenated. It's there. It's just I didn't want to start with it because that's the one that's. I tried to put the story that's going to take the most time in the middle. So for whatever, I don't know. Only Jackson dissented, but in her content of her dissent, that's troubling. It's the content that's troubling. Oh, thanks, Ameriqua. Always great to see you in the chat. What she wrote, what one person or president might call bureaucratic bloat is a farmer's prospect for a healthy crop. That's not jurisprudence. That's a stump speech, a campaign ad, a Hallmark card for big government. I know a little bit about cosplay. I used to play. All things on the table. I used to play D&D. I used to play Warhammer. I used to play a game called Top Secret, which was like back in the day. It was like a spy thriller tabletop game. Anyway, yeah, I'm a dork. All right, keep going. The stump speech. Yes. Instead of interpreting the Constitution, Jackson waxed poetic about coal miners, preschoolers, none of which had anything to do with executive authority or legal precedent. The real target, Trump's authority to run the executive branch. She went on, this was the wrong decision at the wrong moment, and judges have their fingers on the pulse of what's happening on the ground. Thank you, a man called Plush. That's not judicial reasoning. That's a bad night on MSNBC. As the American Spectator put it, idiots depend on idioms. Jackson's dissent reads like it was ghost written by ChatGPT on Kamala Harris mode. Oh, I might have to read that. I didn't have that pulled up. I'm gonna read that later. I didn't have that pulled up. Justice Amy Coney Barrett back in June. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. This case proves Jackson didn't listen. She wants to make law, not interpret it. And here's the kicker. Even Kagan and Sotomayor didn't join her dissent. They refused to join her dissent. Oh, you're a forever dungeon master, and that whole ham radio things too. I tried, like, my grandfather was a hamster, whatever you want to call it. Had the big antenna in his yard and everything, and I used to try to get me into it. And he tried to teach me Morse code and everything, and I just couldn't do the Morse code. But he told me I had to learn the Morse code before I could get on to talk to people with the talkie thing. I think he just was trying to. I was young though. I was like 10, I think, 11. So I tried to lose dot, but I just couldn't. And he could hear that stuff and just go like, I don't know, whatever. I miss him. He was a great time and stuff. I have a book somewhere about Morse code. I'll look for it. You'll get a kick out of it. It's probably the original. Yeah, this was longer than 30 years ago. When a far left-wing court thinks you've gone too far, you're not trailblazing, you're grandstanding. KBJ isn't writing for the court. She's writing for TikTok liberals and the MSNBC panel. She's auditioning for Democrat sainthood. Yes. How does it keep doing it? It keeps jumping on me. I apologize. Wait, what the hell? Where did I see this? Where did I go wrong here? I see something about sainthood. How did I lose my track? What the hell is going on? Kagan refused to join. She's not trail. She's grandstanding. She's writing for the court. She's writing for TikTok. She's auditioning for Democrat sainthood. The left doesn't want judges. They want mascots and activists. Jackson is giving them exactly that. Supreme Court rejects imperial judiciary, reigns in judicial powers over presidents. The dissent wasn't a legal argument. It was a campaign speech disguised as a court opinion, rejected by 8 justices, even 2 Dem partisans. Sesame Street taught kids to count. KBJ should try it. She lost 8-1. 8-1. Now imagine Kamala packing the court with 13 more like her. This space is very big. So let's read this one. Let's see what this says. The American Spectator. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson gleaned the wrong message from Sesame Street. The justice is confused about which branch of government she serves. Oh. I don't want to sound offensive, but she does kind of look like a, well, Justice Jackson gleaned the wrong message from Sesame Street. One of those things is not like the other. One of those things doesn't belong. Whoa, oofa. Oh, man, she doesn't belong, I guess. Jackson played football while her friends played basketball, hung upside down while her friends stood right side up, smoked cigarettes with Maria Rodriguez while her friends innocently recited the numbers with the count. This week, the court's newest justice wrote a 14-page dissent to a 2-paragraph ruling embraced by 8 of her colleagues. The case involved an executive order that directed the executive branch to streamline its workforce through efficiency and attrition. Wow. A government employees union sued and found sympathy in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Ninth Circus. The U.S. Supreme Court, in a rare 8-1 decision, slapped down that West Coast court. Smacked them down. Jackson dissented. What one person or president might call bureaucratic bloat is a farmer's prospect for a healthy crop, a coal miner's chance to breathe free from black lung, or a preschool's opportunity to learn in a safe environment. That sounds more like a convention speech than a courthouse opinion. Policymakers, not judges, decide the right amount of resources to allocate to schools and such. But when judiciary imagines itself as a legislature, the consequence is that its language moves from legalese to wonkish and even politicianese. In my view, Jackson wrote, this was the wrong decision at the wrong moment, even given what little this court knows about what it is actually happening on the ground. What it is. See, what it is you don't know what it is happening on the ground. It is. What does any of that, including the happening on the ground cliche, have to do with constitutional powers and the executive? Nothing. In my view, she wrote this decision is not only too truly unfortunate, but also hubris and senseless. Lower court judges have their fingers on the pulse of what is happening on the ground and are indisputably best positioned to determine the relevant facts, including those that underlie fair assessments of merits, harms, and equities. Fingers on the pulse? What is happening on the ground? Idiots depend on idioms. It reads in such a way that the reader almost expects what can be unburdened by what has been to soon follow. The hubristic decision, according to Jackson, came not from one far left circuit on the West Coast overruling the elected president and how he manages the executive branch, but is the Supreme Court's decision to void this lower court's ruling. Justice Jackson misses the profound irony in that position that an elected president cannot direct his branch of government without offending democracy, but unelected judges can. Yeah, just think how crazy that is. That unelected, tyrannical, black robe judges, lower, inferior court, black robe judges have more power than the president, according to her, and she wants them to have more power than the Supreme Court because she wants that one judge to be able to just say what the law is, and then the Supreme Court, the 9 of them are just supposed to go, oh, well, that one judge said what it's supposed to be. I recalled Amy Coney Barrett's June rebuke of her fellow 3 named jurists. We observe only this: Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary, and shows that it imparted no epiphany on its target. Not just the language and length of the dissent, but the loneliness of it suggests that Jackson performed for an audience outside of the Supreme Court. Her arguments here failed to convince even Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan. They do not convince the left that she sits on the extreme left of the court, and that perhaps was her point. Oh, they do convince the left that she sits on the extreme left of the court, and that perhaps was her point. So she wants everyone to know that she's the most extreme left. KBJ wants to become RBG. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg's last years on the bench, a cult of personality surrounded the jurists. Progressives bought RBG shirts, mugs, and bobbleheads, but the octogenarian folk hero rarely wrote an important opinion of the court. KBJ tries to fill this lovable loser's role. Thus far, she's mastered the loser part of it. Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And we'll go to another person. Judicial advocacy from the bench has been a concern since the founding. Article 3 can have a corrosive impact on certain jurists who come to view themselves as anointed rather than appointed. The concern over judicial overreach is valid, as seen as the Supreme Court's 2025 decision ruling blocking President Trump's USAID funding freeze. A clear case of unelected judges substituting their policy preferences for judicial executive authority. This aligns with broader patterns where courts increasingly insert themselves into fiscal and foreign policy decisions, contradicting constitutional separation of powers. The Department of Government Efficiency's analysis of H.R. 5108 reveals how such rulings are often prioritize globalist agendas over domestic priorities, bypassing electoral accountability. While the judicial review remains essential, recent trends show that alarming deference to international frameworks rather than constitutional text. American First governance requires judges to exercise restraint, adhering strictly to their appointed role as interpreters, not architects of law. Yeah, it's not judicial overreach, it's liberal activism. KBJ and liberal justices care less about the judiciary, they care more about liberalism. I wouldn't even say it's liberalism. I think it's more leftism, progressivism, as they like to say. So, here's the article from Jonathan Turley. I have a wonderful opportunity. Justice Jackson's cathartic jurisprudence. I wrote recently about the chilling jurisprudence of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has drawn the ire of colleagues and opinions in her rhetoric and extreme positions. Many have expressed alarm over her adherence to what has been described by a colleague as imperial judiciary model of jurisprudence. Now it appears that Jackson's increasingly controversial opinions are serving a certain cathartic purpose for the far-left Biden appointee. At ABC News, Jackson stated, I feel that I have a wonderful opportunity to tell people, in my opinions, how I feel about the issues. That's what I try to do. Wait. Why don't I have that? Where is it? Hold on. 1 second. I know I saw it. I can't find it. I know I had it. I don't know what happened to it. Now it's making me mad. Now it's making me mad. All right, we'll get back to this. Her colleagues have not entirely welcomed that sense of license. The histrionic and hyperbolic rhetoric has increased in Jackson's opinions, which at times portray her colleagues as abandoning not just the Constitution, but democracy itself. I don't know. If anyone finds that interview of Ketanji Brown Jackson on ABC where she says that, you want to send it to me. I can't find it. I don't know. Her dissent in the recent ruling on universal injunctions drew the rebuke of Justice Amy Coney Barrett over what was described as a vision of the judicial role that would make even the most ardent defender of judicial supremacy blush, Barrett wrote. I don't have a beanie. Do I need a beanie? Is that what you're telling me? I need to wear a beanie to do this? We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only this. Justice Jackson deprives the imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. Jackson, however, clearly feels that opinions are a way for her to opine on issues of the day. She's not alone. Across the country, liberal judges have been adding their own commentary to decisions and condemning Trump, his supporters, and his policies. I previously wrote about this pattern of extrajudicial commentary. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan, an Obama appointee, was criticized for failing to recuse herself from a case that she made highly controversial statements about Trump from the bench. Chutkan lashed out at a blind loyalty to one person who, by the way, remains free to this day. That one person was still under investigation at the time, and when Trump was charged, Chutkan refused to let the case go. Later, Chutkan added again to her own commentary when asked to dismiss a case due to Trump pardoning January 6 defendants. She acknowledged that she could not block the pardons, but proclaimed that the pardons could not change the tragic truth, cannot whitewash the blood and feces and terror and the mob left in its wake, and it cannot repair the jagged breach in America's sacred tradition of peaceful transitioning power. One of Chutkan's colleagues, Judge Beryl Howell, also an appointee, lashed out at Trump's actions, writing, "This court cannot let stand the revisionist myth relayed in this presidential pronouncement." Then there's this judge, Amit Mehta, another Obama appointee, who's been criticized for conflicting rulings in Trump cases and his bizarre and ultimately abandoned effort to banish J6 defendants from the Capitol. Yeah, that's nuts, right? Last week, Mehta had a straightforward question of jurisdiction concerning a challenge to the denial of grants by the Trump administration. While correctly dismissing the challenge, Meta decided to add his own commentary on Trump's priorities and policies. Defendants' rescinding of these awards is shameful. It's likely to harm communities and individuals vulnerable to crime and violence, but displeasure and sympathy are not enough for a court of law. Yeah, any of these judges that say these things should be immediately removed from the bench. That's not how. It's not what they're supposed to be deciding on, their feelings. For Justice Jackson, her opinions have at times left her isolated on the court. Weeks ago, Jackson and Sotomayor were alone in dissent over the defiance of a district court judge of the court's decision on universal injunctions. To her credit, Justice Alina Kagan, who voted with Sotomayor and Jackson in dissent in the earlier case, voted with her conservative colleagues in rebuking Judge Brian Murphy in Boston. Kagan joined in a reversal of Murphy's conflicting order and wrote, "The new order clarifies only one thing. Other litigants must follow the rules, but the administration has the Supreme Court on speed dial." This week, Jackson lost even Sotomayor and stood alone in her dissent in support of an injunction over plans to downsize the government. Sotomayor observed that the Trump order only ordered for agencies to plan for downsizing and said that the courts could hardly enjoin such policy preparations in the executive branch. However, Jackson could and would. The controversial position of Jackson on the court is not due to her liberal views. We have had such many liberal jurists. The difference is how Jackson views her roles as a justice. The danger is not confined to her opinions. For years, justices have yielded to the temptation of public speaking before supportive groups. I have long been a critic of what I have called the era of celebrity justices, where members seem to maintain political constituencies in public events. Such speeches cannot only undermine the integrity of the court by discussing matters that may come before it, but they can create a desire to maintain the adoration of supporters. The greatest danger is that justices will consciously or subconsciously pander to their bases with sound bites and inflammatory rhetoric. Judicial advocacy from the bench has been a concern since the founding. Article 3 can have a corrosive impact on certain jurists when it comes to view themselves as anointed rather than appointed. Most judges and justices are acutely aware of that danger and struggle to confine their rulings to the merits of disputes, avoiding political questions or commentary. The opportunity to tell people how I feel can become a slippery slope where opinions become more like judicial op-eds. The court is not a cable show. The price of the ticket to being one of 9 is that you should speak only through your opinions and only on the narrow legal matter before you. Opinions must remain opportunities to do simple justice, not supreme editorial. Thought I had more on this. I guess I don't. But anyway, all right. So now I'm going to jump to another topic. This topic is what's going on. It's basically what's going on in L.A. The Democrats and politicians and people in power in L.A. and California are basically increasing their rhetoric and making it so that more bad stuff is happening. There's been direct causation from their comments and words to what's happening in LA and around the, with shootings and stuff that have been happening. This is Mayor Karen Bass. It's really fitting that her name is Karen. Let me be clear. We will not let what the Trump administration be the new normal. We will stand proudly for our values and fight for all Angelenos. So she's going to fight against the federal government to protect illegal aliens. That's what she's going to tell us right now. That's what she's going to tell us. I'm going to speed it up. I'll speed it up to 1.5, maybe 1.25.
Absolutely will not accept that this is the norm. What happened at MacArthur Park was a performance. It was a show of force. It was someone saying that, we are the federal government, and if we choose to take power away from a governor or away from a mayor, this is the new normal. And my response to that is that I've seen this movie before. It used to be called a coup, and it happens in other countries. So this is the federal seizure.
Okay, no, lady, a coup is what you and Gavin Newsom and you people are doing, trying to stop the federal government from running the country. The federal government runs the country. You control the states, but there's issues that are completely federal. Immigration is completely federal. So you have no say in it, so get out of it.
Of power from our governor, federalizing the National Guard, deploying them to Los Angeles when they were not requested, nor were they needed. And I think the idea that we should accept this, people being snatched off the street by masked men in plain clothes with vests on that it looks like they got from Amazon, carrying guns and pulling people aside, no warrants, arresting them, detaining them. We don't know where they go. They have no contact with their families or with the law or with the legal counsel. What is this?
Yeah, what is it? What is this exactly? So, I must say, the greatest state of California, child labor. Yeah, that's what they're doing there. That's what they're doing. So, executive directive I just signed will bolster city protocols in the face of ongoing raids. So they're doing a lot of stuff. They're involved with this whole group called Chirla, who's financing a lot of these raids. How did that happen? A lot of these raids, not the raids, a lot of the counteractions to the raids, the emergency response stuff is through Chirla, where she's involved in it too. They're they find out where the raid's happening, and then they send people there to try and stop them and interfere. And I think they're breaking the law. I think that's against the law. I don't think you're allowed to do that. So I guess you want to bolster the city expand access to resources for families impacted by recent raids, provide more information regarding these unlawful and chaotic raids. They're not unlawful and they're not chaotic. Los Angeles stands united. Yeah, okay. You have no control of the federal government, but the things you do control are in complete disarray. Homes were burning. Where were you? Oh, I was gone. Proving once again she's a straight communist. Instead of helping law-abiding citizens, Karen's signing directives to shield illegal aliens from federal law enforcement. When mayors start protecting criminals from the law, you're not in a city, you're in a Marxist zone. We'll hear it. Ellie Maribas signs executive directive to help immigrants, calls raids display of force. Oh. I think they're law enforcement is what they are. I think that's what they are. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass signed an executive directive Friday aimed at strengthening city protections for immigrant communities in wake of what she describes as unlawful and chaotic federal immigration raids across the region. During a news conference, Bass called the directive necessary to help Los Angeles understand how to protect itself from our federal government. The fact that they're putting this stuff in writing, I don't know what they think. I don't know what they think. This is like there's like history repeating itself here with Democrats. Referencing a series of immigration enforcement actions that occurred in the city over the past 6 weeks, including recent incidents in MacArthur Park and Ventura County. We saw MacArthur Park earlier this week, which I think now after all assessments is viewed as a display of force. Bass said, no, I don't agree with that. They were looking for somebody just to put this city in its place, to say we're the federal government. We can roll out troops whenever we choose. The new order, Executive Directive number 12, requires all city departments to submit preparedness plans within 2 weeks that include department-specific protocols and training. These plans must outline how city employees, including contractors, should respond if approached by federal immigration agents on city property while remaining compliant with both federal law and local ordinances. Does she think that city property shields them? Like if they're on city property, they go, oh no, this is city property. You can't, we're the city. She realized that the city property is inside the United States of America. It's still owned by the people. It's government property. Bass said that the goal is to ensure city workers and residents, particularly immigrants, know their rights and can safely access city services without fear. She emphasized that all departments should designate an immigrant affairs liaison to report any federal enforcement activity to the mayor's office immediately. Is she admitting she has illegal aliens working for the city? What? Want to disseminate information on city services and assistance programs for families that are impacted by federal enforcement actions. Even people that contact with the city, we want them to understand what their rights are. The directive comes the days after the mayor announced legal action against the Trump administration in response to immigration raids, which she described as unconstitutional and reckless. Well, they're not. Bass pointed to an incident where the militarized federal vehicles were deployed in MacArthur Park. And they were just Humvees. Children attended summer camp nearby. Not at the park, they weren't. There wasn't no kids at the park, following an effort to instill fear in immigrant communities. We're a proud city of immigrants, she said, and with the Trump administration signaling that they will ratchet up their chaotic approach on making sure we deploy every resource and tool within the city. So she's going to go to battle with the feds. We're going to have, a battle of Bloody Porch. I mean, what are they going to do? It's going to be, fire on Mount Sumter. I don't know. The directive also established a new LAPD-led working group that will collaborate with the mayor's office on immigrant affairs, immigrant rights, and organizations and community leaders. The group will help develop additional guidance for how officers should respond to immigration enforcement. Bass also ordered the submission of a Freedom of Information Act request to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to obtain records related to immigration raids in Los Angeles, including dates, locations, arrest reasons, and the use of identifiers such as badges and masks for federal agents. In these raids, it's not just people who are undocumented, but people who are in the country legally, people who showed up for their annual immigration visit, or even sometimes U.S. citizens have been detained. First of all, the people showing up for their annual visit are people that were supposed to leave and didn't, and they just didn't deport them. Just because the Biden administration didn't want to kick anybody out doesn't mean that the new administration is going to play by those rules. Here's the thing: you can all come back legally. You just got to leave. They even said if you go out on your own, you can apply to come back in. Yeah. No, the only U.S. citizens that have been detained are ones that interfered with the immigration enforcement. They have to, the ICE officials or the Border Patrol or whoever it is, if the people are committing a crime in front of them, interfering or impeding the enforcement of federal law, they get arrested. That can happen, but they're not being detained. Citizens aren't being detained. The directive, it says when people are taken from a city who do not necessarily know where they are going. Does anybody really know when you get arrested where you're going? I mean, unless you've been arrested before, you don't know where you're going, or unless you know where the police station is. Come on, this is just the directive reinforces existing city policies, including Special Order 40 from the LAPD, which prohibits officers from initiating actions solely to determine immigration status, and a 2024 ordinance that bans city resources being used to support federal immigration enforcement. I think they're being sued over that. Bass closed her remarks by again highlighting the irony of needing to protect the city from its own federal government. I just want to repeat that the irony that I'm going to sign an executive directive to help the city family understand how to protect the workforce and Angelenos from our federal government. It says, LA will provide cash assistance to immigrants affected by raids. What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? There's 3,000 homeless veterans in LA, but sure, give more taxpayer money to random foreign nationals who are legally in the country. California is insane. Lusa protests ICE raid on marijuana farm alleging, using child. Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Yeah, we're going to get to that. No. We're going to get to that. Hold on. No. Okay, so I have to do this real quick. Okay, there we go. LA will provide cash assistance to immigrants affected by raids. Mayor Karen Bass announced that she planned Friday to provide direct cash assistance to people who have been affected by the Trump administration's sweeping immigration raids. So she's going to pay people who are illegal aliens who are getting deported. This is just crazy. The aid will be distributed using cash cards with a couple $100 on them. This is just this. I'm going to tell you right now. This is how they're paying to get the people to protest. This is a scam. I'm saying it. This is my opinion. That they're going to have preloaded cash cards that are going to hand out basically gift cards to people to go through Churla and other stuff to go and fight with ICE and protest and stuff. That's what this is. This is not. No. It's too on the nose. Yeah. Which should be available in about a week. You people who don't have to leave your homes, who are not going to work, they're in need of cash. Yeah, so she's just going to give people. Just say I haven't been able to go to work. It's just oh my god, this is such a scam. Somebody, how is this not a crime? They shouldn't be able to just. How can they just give money away like this? This doesn't seem legal. She spoke about a family she met who needed 2 incomes to afford the rent after one of the breadwinners was detained in an immigration raid. She said the family is concerned they may face eviction. It was not immediately clear what the qualifications would be to receive the cards. It just be if your qualifications are going to be, are you going to go protest? You're going to go, throw rocks at ICE? Here you go, take a card. Mayor emphasized that the money will not come from city coffers, but from philanthropic partners. You see? This money, yeah, no, see, no. See, that's how they're getting around it. It's going to come from other people like Soros and USAID money and Chirla and all these other things. So, that's right. Yeah. The mayor emphasized the money will not come from city coffers, but will come from philanthropic partners. The cards will be distributed by immigrants' rights groups, such as Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles. This is a scam. This is how they're going to pay the protesters. Oh my God, it's right in your face. Do you not see it? The city will coordinate between the philanthropist organizations distributing the cards, according to the mayor's office. The mayor compared the program to Angelino cards created by Mayor Eric Garcetti in 2020 to give financial assistance to people struggling during the COVID pandemic. The announcement came during a BAS news conference about the executive order she signed on Friday, directing all city departments to bolster protocols and training on how to comply with the city's sanctuary policy, which states that city employees and city property may not be used to investigate, cite, arrest, or hold or transfer, detain a person for the purpose of immigration enforcement. I don't think they can say that they can't enforce immigration. I don't think the city has a right to say the feds can't enforce immigration law on city property. I don't think so. Don't think so. Except for serious crimes, yeah. Departments will come up with their plan within 2 weeks. The Trump administration sued the city over sanctuary property last month, arguing that it discriminates against organizations like ICE. The executive order also creates a working group that will examine and possibly update LAPD's policy on responding to immigration enforcement. Since 1979, the LAPD has taken a strong stance against enforcing federal immigration law, prohibiting its officers from initiating contact with someone for the sole purpose of learning their immigration status. The executive order also includes a directive file Freedom of Information Act. Yeah, we saw that over records for the raid for every raid since June 6th. Yeah. The cash cards are one of the slew of announcements, including an executive order this week by the mayor in response to federal immigration crackdown in Los Angeles. It's entered its second month. Earlier this week, Bass and the city attorney announced the city's intention to join a lawsuit calling for the end of Trump's unlawful raids in the city. They're not unlawful raids. These people are nuts. Nuts. Yeah. Here's more crazy stuff. Culver City Council, California approved a $50,000 grant to nonprofits to deliver food to illegal aliens hiding from ICE raids who are too scared to leave their house. Wow. Talked about nuts.
Providing daily sustenance for people who do not have income coming in will go further. As commented here, legal aid is expensive, and whatever dollar amount you put there is going to get chewed up pretty quickly, and it will only help very few people. Whereas I've seen the lines of cars, I don't know if any of you have been there, but I've seen them, and I know that they also serve folks who are at home and are sheltered on top of that. So I think that will go a lot further and help more people. Providing.
Very interesting. Culver City Council guilty of sedition. If 2 or more persons in any state or territory or any place subject to jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, whatever, force or prevent, hinder, or delay execution of any law of the United States, they shall be fined. So there you go. They're trying to help. It's not a sanctuary city. It's called harboring fugitives. That's right. We got this. Incitement. Democrats have convinced their constituents ICE must identify themselves and show warrants to bystanders. This is not the law. Honduran illegal alien being detained as one of the nurses and doctors start assaulting the agent. This is a result of the stuff that they're doing.
Mr. Guillen was doing his job. He was outside of this clinic doing his job with the landscaping company when he was approached by someone armed and masked. He runs into this clinic asking for support, asking for help, where then the armed gentleman again comes in masked, and the staff at this point also begins to feel worried and concerned for their safety. They start asking this person to identify himself, to show ID, to show a badge, to show a warrant, and they also remind him, you're in private property. We don't feel comfortable with this. You need to leave or you're not going to present it.
100%. Aiding and abetting is a crime too.
Mr. Guillen struggling to even speak, right? Here, seeing the fear in his face, hearing it in his voice, all that just breaks your heart, right? Realizing that again, this person is someone that is working, that is trying, working, seeking a better life, and is now between armed, masked men with guns and nurses that are trying to figure out what's going on. It is brave of these nurses to actually exercise their.
Okay, they're not exercising anything. They're committing crimes. They're assaulting and interfering and impeding with federal law enforcement. They all should be arrested and charged to the fullest extent of the law. If they're not, this is just encouraging more of this type of behavior. An example needs to be made of these people right now.
Right? In no way are they intervening. They're exercising the right to know who is in this building with a weapon, right? And I think it's important to note that, they did is commendable, and it is brave.
No. It is illegal to obstruct ICE. Yeah.
You're not allowed to impede ICE officers trying to do their duty. That's obstruction of justice. You're stopping them from enforcement, and we're not going to tolerate it in our state. I think that's also why, look, and Governor DeSantis feels the same way. And this is why they're not really trying to do that here in Florida. They might try that mess in California or New Jersey, but it's not happening here.
That's not happening here. Wait, where'd it go? I saw it. Where'd it go? What the hell happened? I had it. It was a Doge. Oh, man, it's gone. I had it. It was there. All right. Let this sink in, L.A. Los Angeles is waging insurrection against the federal government. So let that sink in. I signed an executive directive today to help our city protect itself from the federal government. Los Angeles isn't protecting. What a mess. It is a mess, Julie Mumford. A total mess. Yeah, I've met Byron Donalds in person, shook his hand. He's been to my house. He's a pretty nice guy. He's got a nice family. I fully support him to be the next governor of Florida. Los Angeles isn't protecting itself from federal government. It's obstructing law enforcement. Mayor Bassett's directive directly undermines ICE operations authorized under Title 10, violating the Insurrection Act of 2025. There's an Insurrection Act of 2025? Huh. Senate 2070, which empowers federal suppression of state-level rebellion against immigration law. When local, is this playing with me? Is there an Insurrection Act of 2025? When local leaders refuse to secure borders or cooperate with ICE while violent protests target agents, they create chaos, not safety. National Guard deployment was constitutional response to state failure. Per 10 U.S.C. 12406, California's defiance mirrors Senator Padilla's 2025 disruption of DHS briefings, political theater that risks public order. Yeah, when he was running for the primary, he's my congressman. When he was running for the primary, he came and he was knocking on doors, talking to people, and he sat and talked with me for over an hour, and met his wife, and he's for real. This is it's a feeling I got when I talked to him. He's not full of shit. So, but we'll see. I don't know. I guess I could have got buffaloed, but we'll find out. The National Guard deployment was constitutional response to state's failure. California's defiance mirrors Senator Padilla's disruption of political theater that risks public order. Federal authority isn't optional. It's the backbone of national security. It cites, if cities wage war on enforcement, they invite consequences. Please bring the hammer down on her. Angelinos will forever be grateful. She has driven our city into the ground with crime, rampant gross corruption, negligence, mismanagement, and now federal obstruction. Federal immigration agents seeking to detain a Honduran landscaper chased him into a Southern California surgical center and quickly found themselves in a tense standoff as clinical staff demanded to see identification and a warrant. The landscaper was eventually arrested. Yeah, of course he was. This is that scene we were watching, because and all these other people should be arrested too. Here's what the media won't show you. See, this is what happened. Anti-ICE protester pulls a gun on ICE agents in California.
That report, and take a look at this video right here. It appears a protester fired some kind of gun at federal agents. This happened this afternoon. It was a really chaotic scene at the time. A lot of smoke was being launched at the protesters, and again, it appears a protester fired back with that weapon. It looks like he fired.
Now, if somebody is firing a gun at someone, would that be determined that that person is no longer a protester? Would that person be at least at a minimum a rioter or a violent felon, someone committing aggravated assault or aggravated battery, something along the attempted murder or something? You know, it would make sense, right? But no, it's a protester.
At least a couple of times. We have not heard about any agents.
Mostly peaceful protests, I still say, right? These people doing, yeah, so. I keep losing tabs. Hold on. So I'm gonna look real quick. Give me 1 second to look for something. I can't find it. Okay. I'm gonna just move on, I guess, to the next story. I couldn't find it. Sorry. Breaking. Trump's State Department just cut 3,000 more jobs. Promises made, promises kept. After a major Supreme Court victory, Secretary Rubio is purging the bureaucracy and dismantling the deep state piece by piece. The State Department confirmed on July 11th it's firing nearly 3,000 staff in a historic reorganization. 1,107 civil service jobs, 246 foreign service jobs, hundreds more taking voluntary buyouts. This is the biggest shakeup in decades, and that's something. That's saying something. Staff received pink slips Thursday. Some were told their positions were abolished. Civil servants have 60 days. Foreign service officers 120 days paid leave, then gone. Access to headquarters revoked by 5 p.m. Trump isn't playing. cuts follow a near unanimous Supreme Court ruling upholding Trump's power to determine federal employees. The ruling crushed a lawsuit that tried to block the move. Now it's open season on bloated agencies. Yeah, there was some judge. Also, I saw a case. I just popped up. When I have to get back to it, but the cuts follow it. Near unanimous Supreme Court ruling upholding Trump's power to terminate federal employees. The ruling crushed a lawsuit that tried to block the move. Now it's open season on bloated agencies. The law was on our side, the department said. Rubio's office says care has been taken not to compromise core diplomatic functions, translation, passport services safe, security safe, global desk staffed, but the deadwood is gone or going. There was a video too I was trying to find. Bottom line, this isn't just a reorganization, it's a message. Trump's taking a sledgehammer to the permanent bureaucracy and winning in court. While he does it, the deep state is shrinking and it's about time. Yeah. Then there's this one. Then there's this one here. It says the State Department cuts over 1,300 staffers as part of sweeping overhaul. People crying, oh, look at them. Oh, they're all upset. State Department's abrupt layoffs of over 1,300 staffs under the guise of streamlining exposes the reckless disregard for congressional oversight mandated by the Funding American Diplomacy Act. That requires detailed plans, slashing Foreign Service officers while global crisis escalate. So Dodge AI is actually against this. So it says this sporadic arson, burning institution expertise. So Doge AI is against this. That's weird. So what? So Elon's mad at Trump now. So his Doge AI is attacking what he's doing. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. State Department cuts over 1,300 staffers as part of Trump's administration's sweeping overhaul. State Department on Friday began terminating more than 1,300 positions as part of Trump administration's effort to trim the size of the federal workforce. The layoffs will affect 1,107 civil servants and 246 foreign service officers with assignments to the U.S., according to a senior department official. Employees began receiving termination notice in the morning, informing them that their positions were being abolished. By afternoon, several laid-off staffers were spotted tearfully departing the State Department's headquarters, but they were met with a crowd of clapping supporters outside the Harry S. Truman building. Headcount reductions have been carefully tailored to affect non-core functions, duplicative or redundant offices, read the message sent to ACT staffers. Affected foreign service officers will be placed on administrative leave for 120 days before officially losing their jobs. The separation period for civil servants will be 60 days. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the cuts will make the diplomatic department more efficient and more focused. It's not a consequence of trying to get rid of people, but if you close a bureau, you don't need those positions, Rubio told reporters in Malaysia Thursday. Understand that some of those positions that are being eliminated, not the people. The layoffs come just days after the Supreme Court overturned a lower court order that had paused the Trump administration's plans for large-scale reductions in force, or RIFs as they're called, across several agencies. State Department Deputy Secretary for Management and Resources Michael Regas warned staff on Thursday that mass layoffs were imminent, noting that an email to employees that once notifications have taken place, the department will enter the final stage of reorganization and focus its attention on delivering results-driven diplomacy. In May, the department provided Congress with its reorganization plan, which called for an 18% reduction in U.S.-based staff. Okay, so they notified Congress and told them what they wanted to do. State plan on scrapping some 300 divisions and offices, including those tasked with oversight on the war in Afghanistan, which ended in 2021. Yeah, so why would we have a whole division of people looking at the managing the war in Afghanistan when it ended in 2021? And resettling Afghan nationals that aided the U.S. military. I think it's a little late for that. Critics in this reorganization claim the reorganization undermines U.S. interests. No, it doesn't. In less than 6 months, the U.S. has shed at least 20% of its diplomatic workforce through shuttering of institutions and forced resignations. Wait, I thought USAID was not part of the U.S. government, they tried to claim. So how would that? The American Foreign Service Association, Union for Foreign Service. Losing more diplomatic expertise at this critical global moment is a catastrophic blow to national interest. Wow, that's weird, because that's what Doge AI said. So did he just copy what they said? The Diplomats Union slammed the Trump administration's cuts during a moment of great instability and argued that its clear institutional mechanisms could have resolved issues with excess staffing. Clearly they could. That's why they've been working there for years. And instead of these layoffs are untethered for merit or mission. They target diplomats not for how they served or skills they have, but for where they happen to be assigned. That's not reform. What are they supposed to do? You know, that's what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to have to, there's some breaking news I want to get into. So breaking news. Federal judge's decision requires DHS to provide better access to legal counsel for detainees and blocks agents from stopping individuals based on factors like race or the language they speak. Judge grants temporary restraining order, restricts immigration operations in Southern California. So now a judge has just told the federal government where they can and can't. This was an order that some judge was trying to ask them to not send immigration officials to like car washes and stuff. Like, so it's nutso facto. I don't know why this keeps happening. Tabs keep closing on me. Federal judge orders Trump administration to stop arresting people in California without probable cause. They don't need probable cause to arrest people for immigration stuff. It's reasonable, articulable suspicion, unless I'm mistaken. So let's read the story. Federal judge orders Trump administration to stop arresting people in California without probable cause. I didn't think they needed probable cause in it's an advertisement, so we're not going to watch that. Okay. A federal judge in California on Friday ordered the Trump administration to stop arresting people in their immigration raids without probable cause. U.S. District Judge Meme Uwusi Mensah Frimpong granted 2 temporary restraining orders and instructed the Department of Homeland Security to create guidance for officers to determine reasonable suspicion outside of an individual's race or ethnicity, the language they speak or their accent, location or occupation. The judge also ordered the department to ensure that detainees have access to legal counsel, but denying the detainees access to attorneys violates the Fifth Amendment. What the federal government would have this court believe in the face of a mountain of evidence presented in this case is that none of this is actually happening. The order comes the same day Border Czar Tom Homan argued that Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs enforcement officers only need to prove reasonable suspicion to detain and question someone. People need to understand ICE officers at Border Patrol don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody and briefly detain them and question them. They don't. It's a federal law, actually, within so much distance of the border, they can do this. So this lady is outside of her purview saying this. Yeah. They go through the observations, get articulable facts based on location, their occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. It's not probable cause, it's reasonable suspicion. The ruling comes after ACLU sued the Trump administration for allegedly apprehending and questioning Los Angeles residents merely because they look Latino. No matter the color of their skin, what language they speak, or where they work, I want everyone is guaranteed constitutional rights to protect them from unlawful stops. Mohammed Cesar, senior staff attorney for the ACLU Southern California, told CNN, "We are hopeful that today's ruling will step forward to accountability for the federal government's flagrant lawlessness that we have all been witnessing." Is it now? Wow. And so that's going on there. You know. Oh, here. This is what I knew. I saw this. This is. I want to show you. This is just going back to that story about the story about the story about the people from the State Department getting fired. It's a little video. Now, I think all the people clapping should also get fired. That's me. That's what I would do. I'd be like, "Oh, you're all this. You're supposed to be working, and this is what you're doing. You're wasting tax dollars, standing here clapping at people. You're all fired." Now it's like they're having a party. Fire them all. All fired. Afuera. 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 That's my opinion, but, you know, I'm just this idiot. You know, employees carry out belongings after over 1,300 fire staff. Yeah, watch. Oh, bye. Oh, yeah, here you go. Clapping. All these people clapping should be fired also. They are all getting paid. They're on the clock. They should all be fired. They're not doing their job. You know these people work at companies that get new bosses and get laid off and reorganizations? It's a lot. It happens daily to people all over the world. They get a different job. No, not one, not even government employees are guaranteed to never be laid off. The government is not a jobs program. We have way too many government workers. I hope this happens every Friday until the building is empty. Microsoft laid off 9,000 engineers this week. I don't see anyone crying or having ridiculous ceremonies. What nonsense. Good riddance. Nobody should be working for the government for decades. There should be a term limit of 10 years. Setting that up would ensure there are plenty of experienced people to train new hires. Will eliminate a permanent bureaucracy that has more power than elected officials. I concur. Oh, are you? So, on to this story here. Where was I? Did I miss something? Oh, okay. There's another story here. We got this more breaking news, sort of breaking news. I don't know. I'm sorry if I seem like I'm a little out of it today. I don't know what's going on. I'm not really. My tabs keep closing on me, and I got to refine them and reopen them. Unreal. A judge on the Ninth Circuit asked for a vote on whether to rehear an en banc panel stay of Judge Breyer's injunction barring Trump federalizing the National Guard. Yeah, because if you remember, there was a judge that said, that Trump wasn't the commander in chief. It was actually Gavin Newsom. So, give him control. And that was knocked down by a 3-judge panel, 3-0. And so now some other judge on the panel says, oh, we should hear this en banc. Maybe we could overturn it. Like, they just want to prove how blatantly retarded the Ninth Circuit is, I guess. I don't know. Newsom didn't even ask for this. Lawman's explanation follows. So here it is right here. It says, before Bennett, Miller, and Sung, a judge of this court has called for a vote to determine whether this case should be heard en banc. The parties are directed to file simultaneous briefs setting forth their respective positions on whether this case should be heard en banc. The briefs shall not exceed 15 pages unless they comply with the alternative length limitation of 4,200 words. This will be filed within 7 days. So the Federal Circuit did the sua sponte grant of en rule and appeal that became Matal B. Tom. Yeah. No matter how SCOTUS kicks the can down the road, the DNC is making very sure they force SCOTUS into making a decision, which puts the High Court and all of us in a horrible position I described 2 months ago. DNC is intentionally pushing us towards a fight or flight. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, Judge Breyer entered an injunction against the Trump administration, barring Trump from federalizing, i.e. taking over control of the National Guard from Gavin Newsom. Oh, wait. Sorry. I thought I did this. I know what the hell's going on. Newsom had sued. A 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals immediately stayed the injunction, meaning injunction had no effort and Trump remained in charge of the National Guard. Now, Newsom could have asked the full Ninth Circuit to rehear the case in something called en banc. No, not really, because full Ninth Circuits is so large, there'll be just more judges, 11, or could have appealed to SCOTUS. Newsom didn't, and instead went back to Breyer and said, can we still get an injunction under Posse Comitatus Act, something not addressed in the original injunction? And Breyer entered several orders, i.e. ordering discovery, setting hearings on the merits. In short, Breyer gave Newsom another win, but now a judge, without a request for an en banc court to rule, asked for a vote. This is allowed but rare. In the 25 years of clerking on the Seventh Circuit, I never saw a request for a vote without first requesting an answer from the opposite side. And doing that now, but only after noting a request for a vote has been called. I think only 2 times before did I see a judge ask for something from parties where no motion for en banc was required. These judges stopped giving a damn about the Constitution, their jurisdiction, and normal processes the moment Trump 2.0 started. Mm-hmm. Trump's big, beautiful bill just delivered a huge win for healthcare freedom. Millions more Americans can now use health savings accounts, a powerful vehicle for tax-free savings and medical choice. And of course, Democrats are furious. Well, of course they're furious. Of course they're furious. In a broken system that punishes savings and locks you into a bloated employer insurance, HSAs are a rare gem. You own it, it grows, you choose how to spend it. And now Trump just made them bigger and better. People have an incentive to spend wisely. So the healthcare savings account are just such a good idea. It's a great choice. It's a great idea. It's time for it. Donald Trump. Starting January 1st, 2026, 7.3 million more Americans on bronze or catastrophic ACA plans can open HSAs. You can now pay for direct primary care with your HSA. Telehealth deductibles waived permanently. That's reform. Trump didn't stop there. One of the most unjust rules in the tax code, if you turn 65 and take Social Security, you're auto-enrolled in Medicare and banned from contributing to your HSA. That ends now. Under the big, beautiful bill, working seniors on Medicare A can keep contributing to HSA. No more punishing people just for retiring at 65. Wealthy elites don't get special tax breaks. Wealthy elites don't get special tax breaks others can't. Fair, sensible, conservative. And the public loves it. 74% of Republicans support expanding HSAs, 73% of Democrats, and 65% of independents do. Even Frank Luntz found 83% support for letting workers, seniors, keep contributing. This is populism. HSAs equal real choice, the reward personal responsibility, cost consciousness, long-term planning. Democrats hate them because they cut the government control and empower families, which is exactly why Trump expanded them. Oh, I remember that scene. That was pretty important. It's not perfect. The Senate stripped out some great reforms, but Trump's bill still delivered the biggest HSA expansion in over a decade, and it shows what's possible when we fight for ownership over bureaucracy. You should control your own health care and your money. Okay. All right, now on to this story. I've got a few links for this. If anybody has anything else, if they want to throw it in the chat, I'll pull it up. Sources confirmed to me the blow-up between Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi is very real. This has been brewing for 4 months and came to a head at the White House on Wednesday. He has not been in the office since. Most of the frustration at the FBI relates to her handling of the Epstein disclosures and disputes between the FBI and Bondi on how to proceed. Bongino appears ready to resign imminently if Bondi remains in office. There's no question that the base is behind Bongino, and I respect Pam Bondi and understand the immense challenge that taking the reins of such a systemically corrupt agency. But the self-inflicted wounds and unforced errors are consuming attention away from other DOJ, FBI achievements. Time is ticking away, and something drastically needs to change immediately. Very tough call for the White House right now. I don't see any way Bondi survives this long term. The base won't tolerate it. So do they lose Bongino, maybe Cash in the short term, and her in the not-so-distant future, or do they rip the Band-Aid off now and let Cash and Dan do their thing with a new boss? This guy says, so far, Bondi has prioritized TV appearances over crucial prosecutorial actions. We still don't know why Bondi is so hesitant. Losing Cash or Bongino would be catastrophic. We could survive moving forward with a replacement AG, Ed Martin, Pirro, Gates. Anyone who is determined to take down the deep state will do. I mean, I have to say, I'm not 100%, and then this one. Just in, FBI Director Dan Bongino took the day off after clashing with AG Pam Bondi at the White House over the Epstein files, according to Axios. The alleged fight erupted after a 10-hour video was released with a minute missing. Some insiders believe Bongino quit. However, administration officials say he's still on the job, Dollar reported. Two sources familiar with Bongino's position say he was increasingly displeased with Bondi's handling of the Epstein case because she had publicly overpromised and underdelivered disclosures about an Epstein client list that apparently never existed. Pam said her piece, Dan said his piece. It didn't end on friendly terms, said one person, according to the outlet. Let's see.
I get a call, I don't know, about 4 years ago. It's from, let's say, a friend, prior line of work thing, right? Guy says, listen, and this guy who calls me is an unimpeachable source. This guy's not like some ham and egg or tomato can guy throwing out some theory about a UFO he saw 72 years ago, whatever. This is like a legit no-nonsense guy. Guy you trust with your wife, kid, and car, right? He says, I got sent on a temporary assignment once. And on that assignment, I got sent out with on the WCD detail, William Clinton detail. And I knew this guy well. And he says, Dan, I got to share this with someone. He's like, I'm on a plane, and Bill, Clinton gets on a plane with this guy, and it turns out later the guy's Epstein. Now, this guy I'm talking to, this source, he don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. He's just getting on a plane doing the thing, the whole, protection gig, right? He says, I get on the plane, and there's these girls who are obviously not of age who are on this plane. They're clearly young. These are not women. These are girls. And he says, I see Clinton disappear into the back. He goes, I don't know what happened. I'm not saying what happened because all I know is he disappeared and these girls were back there or whatever. And he said they landed at the next stop, wherever it was. And he goes up to the boss on the detail and he says, I ain't getting back on this plane. Because he's a temp. He's not used to whatever Clinton was up to with the whole shenanigans thing. And this guy's clear as the driven snowman. He don't want to mess around with this. He says, whatever just happened back there, I don't want any piece of it. They sent him home. They sent that guy home and he was never tempted that detail again. Now, remember all those Blackberries on that detail. Here's where the story gets super weird. The guy tells me, was it months or a couple weeks later, when you lose property in the Secret Service, an email goes out, say hey, I lost his phone, and it gets logged into NCIC or whatever it is, and everybody knows. So basically, if you find this guy's gun, God forbid, or his phone, it's now effectively stolen property, right? All of a sudden, all the Blackberries on that detail for the agents start showing up oh, this guy lost his Blackberry. Holy shit, wow, that's so crazy. How'd that happen? I'm like, no. He says, yes. He says it was the craziest thing. Oh, look, Agent Joey Bag of Donuts, missing Blackberry. This is around the whole time, the Clinton thing's going on. So fast forward this story, right? He tells me that. About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but I know who they are. Says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know, but this person who's a very, very good reporter, aces, right, swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right?
Wow. Mm-hmm. And Laura Loomer earlier this morning. FBI Director Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are livid with Pam Bondi over her DOJ memo and her lack of transparency from her office regarding the Jeffrey Epstein files. I had it speeded up, Hank. I had it speeded up to 1.75 because I didn't want. That was Tim Cast's, and I have a feeling that there will be a claimant. So I sped it up. Hopefully they don't claim it. Source tells me that Dan Bongino is taking a day off today from his job as deputy director, and there's now speculation whether or not he will return to his job as the FBI will discuss with Pam Bondi's lack of transparency in handing the Epstein files. Pam Bondi has brought total embarrassment to President Trump. She has also lied to the American people. I'm told Kash and Dan are furious with Blondie and the blowback she caused them for her lack of transparency. Kash and Dan should call for Blondie's resignation to save themselves and to also push for transparency in the Epstein files. This is an issue the American people care deeply about. Somebody needs to be fired. Giving Blondie courtesy to resign is more than she deserves. Trump should fire her. And we got Doge AI saying the Epstein case demands absolute transparency, no excuses. If the DOJ under Bondi is withholding evidence or slow-walking disclosures, that's a betrayal of the public trust. Patel and Bongino were brought in to dismantle bureaucratic rot, not enable it. Delays and vague memos claiming no client list fuels distrust, especially when Bondi previously hinted at explosive revelations. The FBI's credibility hinges on delivering every file, video, and name tied to Epstein's crimes, without redactions or political shielding. If internal conflicts are paralyzing accountability, clean house. Taxpayers deserve answers, not infighting. Justice delayed is justice denied, and this administration was elected to end the cover-ups, not repeat them. Hear, hear. Have you ever considered that the people on the client list flew to the island but are not guilty of criminal acts? Well, would you ever know for certain who did what? Would you destroy someone? You would destroy someone's life, something for being on a potential targets list? And then he says, well, the Epstein case requires full evidence disclosure to determine criminal culpability. Without unredacted flight logs, visitor records, and corroborating evidence like victims' testimonies or surveillance footage, it's impossible to distinguish between innocent visitors and perpetrators. Bondi's lack of transparency obstructs the process, preventing investigators from establishing who committed crimes versus who merely visited. Patel and Bongino were appointed to dismantle this exact bureaucratic obstruction. Their mandate demands releasing all the materials to enable thorough investigation, not protecting names through redactions or delays. Every withheld document fuels public distrust and shields potential criminals. Justice hinges on complete transparency. No exceptions. Megan Kelly says, can confirm it's Bongino or Bondi, and the pick is obvious. Bondi must go. First reported by Laura Loomer. I don't see any option, 100%. Not one large account wants to answer this question. Maybe you could. Why is Maureen Comey still employed? She had access to the Epstein files and evidence locker. She's failed miserably at the Diddy case. And for F's sake, her father's directly in investigation right now. What is going on? What does it take to be fired? Megan Kelly said out loud, Bondi must go. Not maybe, not investigate, just go. But why all of a sudden urgency? Why are Bongino, Kash Patel, and half the FBI threatening resignation over one woman? Because Pam Bondi isn't just a name. She's the firewall between the public and the Epstein archives. The question isn't whether Bongino stays. The question is, what did Bondi threaten to expose if she's forced out? This isn't about politics anymore. It's about who holds the vault. Part 12 coming. What Bondi knows and what terrifies them all. Okay, let me see. Real quick here. Just make sure I didn't. Okay. Okay, so we'll do this one. All right. I'm not sure about Kash leaving, but the report that Dan Bongino has done cleaning up after Pam Bondi is 100% accurate. And comes after months of frustration. I have this on airtight multiple sourcing, and Dan is the only one who feels that way. Both Kash and Dan for months have tried to get Pam to understand the importance of full transparency in her department, especially on the Epstein stuff. For reasons becoming apparent, this has fallen on deaf ears. Pam has been given multiple avenues to pursue and infinite examples of people who need to be brought in front of a special counsel, but she has refused to budge every time. And it's an interesting New York and Florida thing going on here, too. There's an interesting New York and Florida thing going on here, too. Susie Wiles, a long-standing close and personal friend of Pam's, in the event Trump would consider keeping Dan and maybe Kash if he wants out, too. I'm sorry. I told people know not to call me when I'm streaming, yet they still do it all the time. Yeah, so Trump would consider keeping Dan, and maybe Cassidy wants to too. It is likely his chief of staff would recommend against it, which adds layers to the problem. I don't think Bongino will be back to the office Monday if something doesn't happen with Pam, or even a special counselor search announced, perhaps. This would represent a massive victory for the swamp, and indeed for sex traffickers and pedos. I'll conclude for now with reminding everyone how people like Dan Bongino and Cash Patel sacrificed as much as they possibly could for MAGA and Trump, and I have no doubt they'll remain loyal to both, regardless of what happens here. The truth is Pam needs to go fast. Update: Matt Gaetz would struggle with Senate confirmation to serve as acting. You need to be at the department already. But a recess appointment? The other thing is people fail to understand is that if Trump removes Bondi, and if she is replaced with someone who actually wants to haul folks like Acosta in front of a special counsel, and that special counsel and new AG need to POTUS levels and Secret Service protections. Maybe more. A lot of hyperventilating here. Pam must go, Susan must go, and what the whole body thing shows is that you need a real effing badass, gray-haired, experienced, unafraid male lawyer in that seat. You don't need a flake like Matt Gaetz with all the baggage. You need experienced litigator with tons of experience with Washington and who will be at least respected. The only hyperventilating one is you. Gaetz is the one of serious people around for this job. No one wants your swamp monsters. These people are just fight. And then here, a shipwreck crew has an opinion. Let me see if I have it straight. At a cabinet meeting, with the press able to pose questions, A.G. Bondi is questioned about the announcement days earlier that all the evidence concerning Epstein that can be released has been released, and certain specific evidence either doesn't exist or can't be released. President Trump jumps in before she can answer and reads the Press the Riot Act about continuing fascination with the subject, given everything else that's happened over the past 6 months. A more direct signal could not have been sent. He then says to the AG, answer if you want, and she offers a few comments. And now the idea is that AG Bondi, who is going to be made to resign by the demands of MAGA, Pam Bondi in the video below, one of 5-6 defense attorneys for Trump in the first impeachment. She didn't really do much in that impeachment. Pam Bondi, MAGA's going to force President Trump to dump her over Epstein and Bongino. This guy says, most of the celebrity social media personalities that came out of what I affectionately refer to as the neocon media Inc. are driving the narrative bus on this Epstein thing. You're somebody who knows how the grand jury system works and how the evidence presented to the grand jury is treated while investigators are ongoing before indictments are sealed. A lot of these influencers either don't know or don't pretend to know. And then this comes from, this is another person, this is Lionel Media, who's I watch. He says, fire him. So let's hear. This is
All right, this breaking news. Sources tell CNN that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino has told people that he's considering resigning amid a major clash between the FBI and DOJ over the continued fallout from the release or lack thereof of the Jeffrey Epstein memo. Joining us right now in files, joining us right now on the phone is CNN anchor and chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins. Caitlin, what more are you learning?
Yeah, Fred, it remains to be seen if he actually follows through with what he has told colleagues. But what we do know is that Dan Bongino has told people he is considering resigning as the deputy director of the FBI.
Okay, no. Did you see what she just said? It's unknown if he's going to follow through on what he's told people. But so, in other words, they've got people claiming that some people say that he told them that, but they don't have the actual people that he told, or they would use them. And now they could say, well, he just didn't do, if it doesn't happen, if he doesn't quit, if this is all bullshit, they could say, well, he just didn't do it. It's how are we supposed to know if he was going to do it or not? We didn't do anything wrong.
FBI over the fallout that has continued ever since this memo was released last Sunday. The anger inside the MAGA base has only continued to grow instead of going away, as some officials inside hoped it would. And now our colleagues, along with Christian Holmes, Tanner Rabinowitz, and Evan Perez, we're hearing that he's considering resigning after they had this heated confrontation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi over the handling of this earlier this week. And basically there was a meeting at the White House where the FBI Director, Kash Patel, was there, the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. They were questioned about whether they were part of a story that there was basically some infighting over how this came out and this memo that said we're not going to be releasing any more information related to Jeffrey Epstein. And I should note that we are told Bongino denied leaking any story to this outlet that it was reported on. But there's been a lot of fighting between Attorney General Pam Bondi specifically and the leadership over at the FBI over who's to blame in this situation. I think the context here is obviously Dan Bongino, Cash Patel. They came from this MAGA world where they themselves had pushed a lot of questions about the so-called client list that Epstein had beforehand. And now the MAGA base is just not pleased or satisfied with what they've said in this memo that came out unsigned from the Justice Department and the FBI on Sunday night. So what we are told is Dan Bongino did not show up to work today, that he is essentially not there out of protest. But whether or not he actually follows through on this still remains to be seen. We're still reporting that out. But it just speaks to the backlash that the White House is feeling and understanding.
So this is all because he didn't show up to work today? Maybe he took the day off. Maybe something happened. Maybe there's an emergency in his family. I mean, if this all turns out to be a bunch of hyperventilating bullshit, boy, oh boy.
After this memo came out, despite President Trump the other day in the cabinet room asking, who still cares about this? One thing we know is the MAGA base certainly does.
All right, Caitlin Collins, thanks so much for that. We'll check back with you as you learn more. CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez is also with us. And so, Evan, is it your understanding that if Bongino were to resign, it's as a result of the infighting, including with the AG, Pam Bondi, or is it mostly over the disappointment of these Epstein files either not existing or not being released?
Well, look, I think Fred, there's a larger issue here, and I think if you look at Dan Bongino, he was a very successful podcaster. He had a very big following online, certainly very financially successful with his podcast that was a very strong appeal inside MAGA world. And this job really hasn't been, I think, very much fun. And if you've seen him doing some of his interviews in right-leaning media and conservative media, he has said as much. He has said that this job is taking a toll on his life, on his personal life, with his family. He's having to essentially be separated from them while he's here in Washington doing this job. It's not nearly what he's used to back in the days, obviously. He is someone who came from law enforcement. So, I think there's a bigger story here in terms of what Bongino is thinking. But I certainly think part of what Caitlin laid out just now is partly the story here. And that is that there is some daylight between top FBI officials and top Justice Department officials over the handling of these.
I mean, if Bongino didn't want the job, why did he take the job? I mean, did he take it because did he feel pressured to take it? Why didn't he just move his family to D.C.? Why didn't he just rent a place or get a place in D.C.? He's got plenty of money. He can afford it.
This Epstein matter. You'll remember that back in February, the Attorney General Pam Bondi led this event at the White House where they brought in all these MAGA influencers, these conservative influencers on social media, and gave them, with great ceremony, these binders that were supposed to contain these Epstein files.
Turns out, though,
most of the files were actually out there for years. And so it was a great embarrassment, both to Bondi and to FBI officials who really didn't have much role in this. And so that's where some of this begins and where you see some of the distance. And so I'll point out one quick thing that on social media today, Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, has tried to respond to some of the pushback from Lara Loomer and some of the other.
Yeah, I don't buy this take
basically
either.
Tried to point out that Cash Patel and Dan Bongino and the Justice Department.
These guys just like to smell their own farts.
Leadership are all on the same page, that there is no daylight. If you look at the tweet, he says the suggestion by anyone that there was any daylight between FBI and DOJ leadership on this memo's composition and release is patently false or patently false. Now, he's referring to the memo that went out this week where they said there's no there, we're not releasing anything else. It's very clear, Fred, that there is daylight between the FBI and the Justice Department over the handling of this. And so we'll see how this plays out in the coming days and weeks. We don't know whether Bongino is coming back to work next week. It appears he's taken the day off. He's down in Florida somewhere. And so we don't know whether he's
down in Florida somewhere? He's just, wait. He's down in Florida somewhere. We don't know where. He's not at his house in Florida, maybe? Jesus, come on.
Story that is going to go away because, as Caitlin pointed out just now, certainly MAGA world is not done with this. They want more, and they want to see more from those documents that the FBI still has.
And it is evident this is just the latest in what seems to be a litany of turmoil that we're seeing in recent days.
Turmoil, chaos, turmoil.
Top leadership in this administration. All right, Evan Perez, thank you so much.
Turmoil, chaos. Susie Wiles is the person controlling it all. Trust nobody. Here's Pam Bondi. U.S. Senator John McCain was a war hero, a public servant, and a great American. Our country is better for his service. My heart breaks and prayers for the entire McCain family. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Case is over. Why suppress after the fact? Court order. We saw this yesterday. Alan Dershowitz saying that, files exist. I'll play it again just because. Why not? Got nothing better to do.
This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen. Remember, I was accused falsely, and the Epstein And ultimately, I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they.
All right. So, yeah, so a victim. So someone could say they're a victim of blackmail, they're a victim of extortion or something. So they're not going to give up the names. But I wanted to bring this as Dan has a direct line to Trump. If he truly has a problem with Bonnie, he would go Trump. I don't know if Dan has a direct line to Donald Trump. I believe he has a direct line to Donald Jr. If you know what I'm saying. I think. Doesn't Dan own a piece of Rumble or something? Or he owns a piece of something? I'm not sure. I thought he owned a piece of Rumble or something. So, all right, now we're going to move on to, we're going to move on to another story. It says Trump's iron cage for Xi Jinping. Yeah, okay, he has investments in Rumble. I thought so. Yeah, you've heard of the China trade war, but now China is expanding to something bigger, a full-scale economic encirclement of Beijing using Asia itself. Oh, it was Parler he had a piece of, and then Rumble bought out Parler or something. He's a big holder in Rumble. I know he's got something like I thought it was Rumble, but it's a full-scale encirclement of Beijing using Asia to plan bold, aggressive, and it's working. There's a thread. Cut China out of the mix there. Trump just launched a new front in the trade war, not with China directly, but with the countries China uses to dodge U.S. tariffs: Indonesia, Thailand, Cambodia, even Vietnam. And he's slapping massive new tariffs on all of them, unless they cut China out. This is. I'm pretty sure the amount of calls he got is direct line. Oh, and it's saying, what's it saying? According to DeSantis or Paxton floated to replace Bondi per Loomer. DeSantis would be great for Attorney General. I want Paxton as a senator, though. You know, like that. Is that what they're going to try to do to keep John Cornyn as a senator from Texas? If they put Paxton in there, that's actually a pretty shitty move, man. That's going to mean that John Cornyn stays senator from Texas. No, he's got to go. Paxton's got to be the senator. No. Yep. No. That's the way I feel about it. But anyway, it's already working. 40% tariff on Chinese goods laundered through Vietnam. Threatened 25 to 36% tariffs on other Asian countries. Anti-China clause in trade deals with Vietnam and Britain. 10% new tariff on countries siding with BRICS. Trump cuts a brutal trade deal with Vietnam. 20% tariff on all Vietnamese goods. 40% tariff on transshipped China goods. Yeah, I think the Senate is the best place, unless they're worried that unless the divorce thing is going to make them think they can't. Robert Byers would make a great AG, but I don't think he's on the short list. I don't think he's on the short list. I don't know. Why Vietnam? Because since Trump took office, China has been flooding Vietnam with machinery and electric parts. Vietnam slaps on a made in Vietnam label and ships them to America. Trump just crushed that scam and signaled the whole region is next. It's not just Southeast Asia. Trump now targets any country aligning with BRICS, the China-led anti-American trade bloc, and the Brazil summit. BRICS expanded to include Iran, Egypt, UAE, Indonesia, Thailand, and Trump hit hard. Trump drops a new bombshell. threatening BRICS nations. Any country trying to replace the dollar gets crushed. 100% terrorists if they try replacing the dollar. Xi Jinping is panicking. He's called Trump's strategy unilateral bullying. His spokesman warned of resolute countermeasures. Why? Because exports to Asia are the last lifeline for China's failing economy. And Trump just tightened the noose. China is retaliating, not with tariffs, but with sabotage, blocking tech to India, pulling engineers from Foxconn plants, weaponizing its grip on batteries, solar panels, and rare earths. It's asymmetrical warfare, and Trump knows it won't work. I don't know, Joe. I don't think there's a problem. I don't think there's a problem with my account. Does anyone else see it? Let me look. Hold on. Let me look here. No, it's giving me the thing to join on mine. It says I can join my own channel. So I don't know unless. Are you on browser? Oh, Debbie says, "Don't hang up on me when I call." Well, if that was you calling me, then that's not very nice of you. Just, she must be behind the show. I think you have to be on the. Well, if you're on a computer, yeah, you don't. Yeah, you should be able to do it from Google. If you're on Chrome, you should be able to do it no problem. Oh, and it just jump. Why does it keep doing it whenever I switch pages? It jumps back. Yeah. What's at stake, though? The entire foundation of Chinese economic power. Their ability to grow at 5% a year, whether Xi or Trump dominates the global south in 2030s, and whether Xi can afford to invade Taiwan. Trump isn't playing defense, he's going for checkmate. This isn't just about trade, it's a new kind of Cold War, and Trump is building a coalition to surround and economically isolate Beijing. Trump's message to Asia is clear: trade with America or get caught in Xi's collapse. It's working. Mm-hmm. And here's some breaking news that we're going to talk about. That was, here's some breaking news. 10 juveniles were found at the marijuana facility and all legal aliens, 8 of them unaccompanied. It's now under investigation for child labor violations. This is Newsom's California. Because Newsom put this out saying, like, kids running from tear gas, crying on their phones because their mother was taken away from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. So yeah, see, so he played this video here, with these people.
Do not run! Do not run!
Yeah, so that's what they're doing there, and then there he is. I don't think the president understands that the cannabis farming is a vital sector of a state's economy that cannot function without undocumented child labor. Gavin Newsom. They were probably shuffled through. Glass House Brands should face charges. Yeah, probably not, though. No. These are the juveniles found at the marijuana facility. Oh, that works. Thanks, Joe. Awesome. There you go. It works. See, so you can super chat. Maybe, restart always works. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what. Sometimes YouTube gets weird. Yeah, according to Holman, all but 2 of the kids were there alone. Yeah. So one as young as 14, California, ready to partner with us to stop child exploitation. Yeah, see all the kids that were there that they were forced into work. Yeah. This all needs to be shoved in every Democrat official, and every time they deflect, deny, or downplay it, it needs to be pointed out. Almost all of them will refuse to condemn it. Their worldview will not permit it. What's this say? Heard surplus from tariffs, not deficit, as expected. Yeah, that's what it looks like. We actually made some money on the tariffs. It's funny. California government Democrats support child trafficking and slave labor to grow their weed. understand why every single farm owner using underage kids is having a butthole puckering moment watching this unfold. It's now clear that Trump and his team are serious about the deportation thing and shutting down the cheap labor these rich assholes have imported. Yes, Trump was serious about that. Things are changing. And the rich assholes are now screaming internally about how unfair this is. All the slavery activity was protected until now. They were assured they would be protected, covered. Nobody would ever bother them. They were never found out. All the local authorities were in on it. But now they've lost control of the federales, who are too freaking bad. They've had months to adjust to the new reality. No sympathy for any child labor. You were serious about that? Yep. Mm-hmm. Ventura County, this is the same thing here. Ventura County, California. Violent Mexican nationalists and open border extremists attacked and shot at federal officers conducting a raid on a drug farm that uses migrant child labor. Democrats and leftists lied, said food pickers were being arrested. I can't. So I'm throwing rocks at the cars. All these people throwing the bricks at the cars need to go to jail. This is all criminal. All criminal. I don't know why. I think they put the music on there strictly so you can't use it. Yeah. Get out and arrest these people. That's what I would do. I mean, if somebody's throwing bricks at your car, I think you'd be able to use some kind of force on them. I don't know. What are you being shown about the protesters here? Does anything seem strange about them? How fast they got there, how coordinated they are, how utterly dedicated they are to stop these ICE raids and these funky hidden grow farms with using illegal child labor? Why can't ICE raids on these grow farms continue? What's going to be exposed if the ICE raids turning up missing kids that are allowed to continue? Why are some very rich, stupid people extremely nervous as they watch these raids at grow farms picking up? You know what happens when you start asking the right questions? You begin to understand what you're being shown. Yeah. Biden's HHS said, my next trick, I'll make 400,000 kids disappear. Only in America are you allowed to throw bricks at federal vehicles. At some point, we need our law enforcement to stop and arrest these violent people. Definitely. Mm-hmm. This is from the White House. It says, ICE raids. Okay, no, that is the right one. All right. ICE raids marijuana farms filled with illegal aliens. Mm-hmm. Oh, that they put music on so they can use it. They stole it from the real poster. Crying. Dude, they're just strawberry pickers. The only problem, they ain't producing. That ain't produce, Holmes. That's product. Yeah. They're talking about this guy, Jimmy Gomez. How many Emmett's 13 members are waking up at 3 a.m. to pick strawberries? Oh, yeah, 0. Trump said he'd go after bad hombres, but he's targeting immigrant farm workers who feed America. Nobody eats marijuana. No, I wouldn't live in a swamp, but it would be... he wouldn't be. He'd probably be in Virginia or something in a house. I don't know. I mean, depending on how young his kids are, or if they're young enough, you get. I don't. I wouldn't be in that situation. Oh, he's at Alligator Alley. Who? Dan's at Alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, and here's Gavin Newsom's response to this raid. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone. Oh, Trump calls me new scum, but a mother was taken to fields. So let's see. Yeah, so. Oh.
Do not run!
So yeah, so that one, I think that was a fake cry. I don't know. So, yeah. So it says why. This says the White House wants to know why are there children working at a marijuana facility, Gavin? How did I miss this post? If foreign subversives weren't enough, the Democrat Party now came out in support of child slave labor. Gavin Newsom supports child slavery. This guy is such a piece of work. The only question is what needs to be addressed today. Why aren't more people talking about anything beyond me? ICE found forced child labor in the fields of a marijuana farm in the United States of America, and the media is dead silent. Unbelievable! The lady and these kids are either A, she brought them to get violent against federal agents, or 2, she is an illegal worker off the cartel smuggling fee and farm is housing their slaves. She's wearing a mask, and a lot of other protesters are wearing masks. Yeah. Almost looks like I thought there was a lot of Asians that control it, but maybe I'm wrong. Supporting modern slavery of children working in an illegal cannabis farm, which is not good for optics for the extreme left party that never wanted to give up their slaves. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it gets even worse because now a judge restrains LAPD from using non-lethal munitions against journalists, detaining or assaulting journalists covering protests, or restricting their movements under most circumstances. Yeah. Judicial coup continues. Here's the order. There we go. The United States District Court order granting a temporary restraining order. Huh, what do you know? Photojournalist Michael, I'm not saying that last name, Nigro, took his position on Temple Street. It's a trick to try to get me to say that name. They're trying to trap me. You see that, Michael? They're trying to get me to say that last name. It's a trick. It's a trap. They try to suck me into their trap to get me to say it. Declaration of Michael, though he was high above the protest, he soon heard the telltale sound of less male ammunition hitting a pole in his head. He said, "Oh, this is the guy that got shot in the face, I think, on top of the roof. They were throwing bricks off the roof." Yeah, this is for they were throwing bricks off the roof. The guy got shot in the face. They're saying, so they're just basically ordering, saying, all these journalists saying, "I got hit, I got hit, I got hit." And, well, you know what? You're in the line of fire. You have to deal with it. And then there's this is another one, is that within hours of a lawsuit filed by Planned Parenthood in Boston federal court against the Trump administration, an Obama-appointed judge has put the funding of the corporation in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill on judicial hold. Mm-hmm. Obama-appointed judge temporarily blocks federal funding of Planned Parenthood. Within hours of the lawsuit filed by Planned Parenthood in a Boston federal court Tuesday, Obama-appointed judge puts the funding of the corporation in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill on hold. The bill, which has barely had time to come into play, partially defunded businesses committing elective abortions like Planned Parenthood, the country's largest abortion provider. Under the legislation, abortion businesses are barred from receiving federal Medicaid reimbursements for 1 year unless they agree to stop committing elective-induced abortions. Obama appointee Judge Indira Talwani of the U.S. District Court of Massachusetts issued a temporary restraining order within hours of Planned Parenthood's lawsuit. The TRO lasts for 14 days. But we're going to find out that she made some changes to that. Provisions of the bill barred Planned Parenthood and other Board of Medicine to receive the funding. So yeah, mere hours. So she did that and said federal judge blocks the bill. Okay. And then just now, Indira Tawani blocks the Big Beautiful Bill law defunding Planned Parenthood. Yep, that's what it is. Okay. Shipwreck Cruise comes in. Late in the day yesterday, attorney for Planned Parenthood filed a motion for a 3-day delay in holding a hearing on preliminary injunction motion in a case filed over the cutoff of the PP and OBB. Court has set a hearing of 7/21, 14 days after entering the TRO, which is the max time allowed by Rule 65. The attorney asserts he's unavailable for a hearing on that date. DOJ's first filing of the case is in opposition to the request for a 3-day extension. In the opposition, the DOJ takes the position that the TRO was issued without notice. That's a big issue that I discussed yesterday in a law paper. My guess is DOJ wants to push forward with getting a prelim injunction as fast as possible from this judge and then appeal to the First Circuit rather than risk going up on appeal of a TRO, which is disfavored, particularly a TRO issued without notice. I suspect they are so confident of winning on the merits in the appeals court that their calculation is the less time spent with the district judge, the better. This is my 5th article in 7 days behind the paywall. Yeah, so he's writing like crazy. DOJ should put Planned Parenthood on notice that the government will consider any claim for Medicaid reimbursement they submit from this day forward as a false claim under the False Claims Act, and that the government will seek to recover under the Act treble damages. It says, the Supreme Court ruled that district courts cannot veto the president, but Obama Judge Andrano Tawali claimed that one big beautiful bill is unconstitutional because it cuts spending for Planned Parenthood. It's ridiculous. Congress had the power to purse. It can cut spending for anyone. That includes a woke Planned Parenthood. The leftist Obama judge threw the middle finger to the Supreme Court. Thanks for having me on, Joe Piscopo. Is that what it said? Yeah.
Article 3.
Well, we're not going to do that because we're going to keep reading. And then, so the Trump administration dutifully obeys the lower court's illegal order in Planned Parenthood case by filing a status report. In accordance with this court's July 7th, 20 temporary restraining order, the defendants filed a status report confirming defendants' compliance. The order required the defendants to provide a copy of the temporary restraining order to all personnel within the Department of Health and Human Services and all state agencies involved with the disbursement of Medicaid funding. Within 72 hours of plaintiff's service of the order. On July 9th, the Department of Health and Insurance sent an email to all HHS personnel notifying them of the order, providing a copy of it. On July 10th, HHS sent an email to state Medicaid and Children's Health Insurance Program CHIP directors, notifying them of providing. Why would CHIP providers have to know? And the ACLG files an amicus brief backing Trump and the bogus claims. Oh, that's right. I can't get in there. It's blocked by Pacer. And then breaking Trump administration files a motion to dissolve the temporary restraining order. Judge handed Planned Parenthood. Link and analysis to follow. There's a memorandum. The intra paragraph is amazing, seriously tempered but devastating. Joining the act, Congress signed by the president is among the most serious consequential exercises of judicial power. Must be exercised with caution and restraint, as the separation of powers counsels against one branch of government effectively seizing itself the powers of the other two branches. Yet here, without even a response from the government, the court exercised that power through extraordinarily, highly unusual TRO. Oh shit! I wasn't sharing the right tab. My bad. My bad. DOJ stressed the rules a party seeks to dissolve, even without considering the merits. Judge ignored the 5 mandatory requirements for issuing ex parte TRO. 5 problems that DOJ noted that it would be explained why no emergency justified immediate relief. The errors should at least cause the court to immediately dissolve the injunction, either set a TRO hearing before a preliminary injunction hearing, or just wait for a preliminary injunction. But the judge is likely to do so, given already she ignored the rules. But she got worried, and then when they talked about the delay, and ACLG found an amicus brief, and then this judge dissolves the TRO, granted Planned Parenthood, and enters a new one. Supposedly complies with requirements. She's so full of bias, it's crazy. But yeah, so it's so blatantly ridiculous to even point, even in the case of aliens possibly being deported, the court has held a hearing. Even in the case of National Guard, the court held a hearing, and 14 days later is not quickly setting a hearing. And it is a matter of DOJ objecting that no reasons were provided. The federal rules required that the reasons be provided. On the merits, the only claim the court addresses the right of association claim, but that's a huge problem because only a few affiliates are barred from funding because of their affiliation, as opposed to them because they independently receive more than $800,000 to do so. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I think I'm going to call it quits for the day, people. We're right up on 2 hours. It's been great. So I will see you all Saturday night at approximately 10 p.m. I wish you all adieu, and please come back and let Jim tell you the news.